My name is John, and my story starts when I was a young kid. I had a family that was a beautiful family. We were perceived as the All-American family, and the All-American family was the All-American family until I was about the age of 9, where my dad went away for a little bit to prison, and when he came back, my mom and dad, they divorced. And this event changed my life. That security that I had as a family kind of felt ripped out from underneath me. I felt abandoned, I felt hurt, I always felt sad, mad, alone, and scared. Throughout my entire life, I didn't have an identity. And I think it was through this that I figured that I had a hole in my heart, I had a void, and it wasn't being filled with anything. At the age of 12, I started drinking. At the age of 13, I started smoking pot. I was progressing very quickly as far as the drugs and alcohol went. I was thrown in the drunk tank 4 times by the time I was 20 years old here in Oklahoma City. That's got to be some kind of record, I'm sure. And I decided I needed a change in my life. I was smart enough to know that I couldn't keep this up. I was going to either end up dead, in prison, or I was going to hurt someone. And so I decided that I was going to join the Navy. And then I found out I drink just as much in Tennessee and in Florida as I do in Oklahoma City. And in fact, it was even better because I found new friends that drank just as much as I did, and they hadn't heard any of my good stories yet. So I loved it. I fit right back at home. I was, again, sad, mad, alone, and scared. And now I had a new audience to entertain, basically. And I just spiraled out of control. My drinking got out of hand. I just about threw away my career in the Navy. I got a DUI. I felt lonelier than I'd ever felt in my life. In 2001, my girlfriend at the time, Christy, I decided that I needed another change in my life, and I asked her to marry me. I loved Christy, but at the same time, I think I loved myself so much more that I asked her to marry me out of pure selfishness. I was scared to be alone, and I needed her to fix me. And I found out that not even Christy could fill that hole in my heart that had been torn apart when I was younger. In our marriage, I still felt very alone, very sad, mad, alone, and scared, and my drinking continued. You know, from the outside, it almost like it started off in my childhood. We had the all-American family. I had a pretty wife. I had a great job. I just graduated college. I was a veteran, no debt, and here I am, as scared and alone as I'd ever been in my life. And it was in May of 2007 that I decided that I don't think I want to live anymore. I couldn't take it. The only problem was that I didn't know how to do it, and I was too chicken to just do it fast, so I thought I would kill myself by drinking myself to death. And so every single time I drank to die. I blacked out. I wouldn't know what would happen, and this continued on for a better part of 7 months. And then, I can't really explain it because I didn't believe in God at the time. On Christmas morning of 2007, we were at my mother-in-law's house, and the night before I had gone to my sister's party and I had driven my wife home completely blacked out. I didn't even know what happened. I woke up and my heart was hurting so bad. At first I thought I was just completely hungover, which I was, but God had changed my heart. I couldn't explain it. I still can't explain it to this day, but my heart changed forever. And it was at that moment that I decided to change. And I told my wife I would never drink again, to which she responded, whatever, because she had heard it before many times. I started a life of recovery. I went to AA, and when I showed up, I don't remember anything that was said. All I remember, there was 3 guys there. They were happy, and they told me I didn't have to do it alone. And it was at that moment that I realized that I was going to be okay. That, in fact, drinking wasn't my problem, that I was my problem. And it was through these relationships that I made at AA that I found out who I was In fact, I found out who I was in Christ because that AA group was at a church, and they invited me to church, and that's when I gave my life to Christ. And it changed my entire family. No longer was I in bondage to drinking. No longer did I feel mad, sad, alone, and scared. I felt forgiven. I felt loved, and I felt grace. I'd never felt these things before. And over these last few years, for the last 7 years I've been sober, my wife and I have had the privilege of starting a ministry called the Good Fight Ministries. And I get to live out my purpose every single day. And she and I get to live out our purpose of helping people find hope, faith, and confidence in God and do it in a way that feels attainable. My story, it's drugs, it's alcohol, it's women, it's loneliness and depression, but it's also about grace, forgiveness, redemption, and love.